Hello, everybody. Today we're going to look at these three concepts, the command line arguments, the static libraries, and dynamic memory allocation. Let's start with the first one, the command line arguments. It's possible to pass some values from the command line argument to your C program when they're executed. These values are called command line arguments, and many times they're important for a program, especially when you want to control your program from outside instead of hard coding those values inside your code. In order to start this session, we're going to write some code example and displays the list of commands, line arguments, and see how it works. Let's declare a main function. The main function, if you want your program to receive arguments, you'd have to declare the main function with two parameter. The first parameter is the argc, and the second parameter is an array of strings. So when the program loader call your C program or your executor, your program, it will pass in the number of arguments and also the list of arguments into an array or a pointer to a list of strings, which are the list of arguments your program received. Then I'm going to include the standard input output library for the displays. You can name these two arguments whatever name you want, but by convention, we say argc, which stand for argument count, and argv, which stand for argument variables. I'm going to declare an I variable. Then for I is equal to 0, I lesser than the number of arguments, then I plus plus. Then we use the printf function to display each strings inside this array of character, this array of strings, the argv. Great. Now let's run this program. I go into the terminal and run the gcc command. GCC, then the name of the executable file, and the O option with the name of the output file. Great. Now we have a program, an executable file. We're going to execute the main file. Yeah, we see that we have something here, the dot, something displayed. This is the name of the argument, the program, the name of the program. And let's add some other things, for example, A, B, C, D, E, F. And we see that the name of the program is the first argument the program or our executable receives. And the others are the command line argument the user passed to the program. So anytime you pass in, you execute your program, the first argument will always be the name of the executable. Then the rest will be the arguments that the user provided. Great. We can even, for example, say my name and the other name and so on. I guess you understand how this works. We have two parameters passed to our main function. The first parameter is the number of command line arguments, and the second parameter is the number of or is an array of arguments the program receives. Always remember that the first arguments is always the name of the program or the executable. Now let's change the name of the executable file. The executable file name is main. Now let's change it to something else, to main, main, uh, my main. So the name of the new program of the program is, the name of the executable is now my main. Great. Now let's execute my main. And you see that the first argument is the name of the executable. Great. We can even pass other arguments just for fun. And that's it. So this is just an array of strings, and we can display an array of strings, the strings contained in the arrays, given that we know the number of elements in the array. For you guys to understand that the names of the argument the program receive is not important, we're going to change it to something else. I'm going to say, let's say int count, and the second will be arguments. So for I is equal to 0, I lesser than count, I plus plus, then we print the arguments. Now let's compile this code and see what happened. I'm going to remove the old files first. Great. So gcc main.c, and the output file will be main. Then let's execute it. So the program compiled, and also the first argument to our program is always the name of the executable. Now let's pass in or provide our own arguments. For example, hello world, and that's it. So the name of the parameters is not important, but here by conventions, it's good to give something like argc, which stand for argument count, and argv, which stand for argument variables. Great. Now the next step will be, let's say we want to write a program that um, that add numbers passed to the command line. For example, let's look in the command line. Let's say if you execute a program with 12, 10, and 65, the program will display the sum of 12, 10, 65, which is 82. I guess. Okay. No, 12 plus 10 will be 22, and 22 plus 65 will be 87. Great. So let's write a program that add up these numbers and display the sum. I'm going to delete all these first. And we need another library, which is the std library. So in the std library, we have a function called a to I. This converts a string into a number, and we're going to display the numbers. We're going to convert the string into numbers and sum them up. So I declare a variable called sum, and we run through the arguments. So we have to start from 1, because the first argument the program received is the executable name. So for I is equal to 1, I lesser than argument count I plus plus. Then we have sum at a to int, then argv. Then we display the sum, and let's execute this program to see what happened. GCC main .c, then the name of the executable file, 12, 10, 65, 100. So the program sums up all these numbers and displays 187. Great, this is for this part. We're going to move on the next. I'm going to stop the video and start the new section. We're going to start on the static libraries.